Well, it's a pleasure to be here to update everyone on our conservation programs we run through California Rice Commission and our new foundation, relatively new foundation, programs for the last 20 years, and talk about where we are and where we're headed and how growers can best participate. Our programs thus far, especially they've exploded really since about 2010, have focused primarily on shorebird habitat, which of course does offer benefits for other birds as well, waterfowl, wading birds, et cetera, but they have been targeted mostly to shorebird habitat. We are currently branching out into something we've been trying to do for quite a while, which is nesting cover habitat that we hope to meld really well with some of the changes in what potentially in water availability moving forward. And then we're freshly developing new ideas on how to raise salmon in winter flooded rice fields. So we have a foundation, the California Ricelands Waterbird Foundation. Through that foundation, we actually put habitat on the ground using donor funds. We call the program Bid for Birds program. It is, again, mostly donations, but we recently have got $300,000 in federal dollars into that program. And these are all payments to growers that are willing to do the practices that we're interested in doing. We actually roll these out on an auction basis. So we decide what type of habitat we want to produce out there, advertise it to the grower base. The growers respond with how many acres they want to do and how much they believe they need to get paid to do those. Very low paperwork process. And then we evaluate both the quality of the bid and price and make selections and move forward with contracts. To this point in Bid for Birds, we've done primarily what we call our shoulder season habitat. This is before and after harvest when the shorebird migration really needs shallow open water. So we strive to provide that. After the winter flooding season, the deeper into spring you can hold 4 inches of water. We like that. The deeper into spring, we like it even more. And after harvest, for those of you that can get your crop up fairly early and can get the fields flooded early, we really like that because the shorebird migration is going strong in August and September, and those birds really struggle to find that type of water. We have a dedicated website, calricewaterbirds.org, really easy to remember, calricewaterbirds.org, where we advertise all of our opportunities for growers to sign up. We just finished a solicitation and getting habitat on the ground right now. Of course, I always like to thank our sponsors in the California Ricelands Waterbird Foundation for their contributions. I really want to note, you'll see here a lot of names from within the industry: ACC, FRC, Robbins Rice, Montana Farms, Depew Warehouse, Sun Valley Rice, Goral Ranch. So all the mills and various handlers are strongly supporting this. However, you can see we're branching out into other sort of non-direct rice industry organizations. Mary's Gone Crackers uses California rice to produce their product, and they're a significant sponsor of the foundation now. A few years ago, we started with legislation, that's what we call the California Winter Rice Habitat Incentives Program. Like any program, it's had some growing pains, and we've been making changes to it. In fact, we're making some changes right now that I'll talk about. But this program, if you are a winter flooder, you very well qualify for a $15 payment just for the act of winter flooding. So it's a really good program for growers to look at. It is designed to help sustain grower decisions to order that water and winter flood. I want to point out too, that there's contact information in the lower left corner, a dedicated website for this program, and also the manager of the program, Brian Olson, and his phone number. You can feel free to snap a picture of that if you want to, if you have your phone. But anyway, this is, as I said, a fairly young program. This year, the changes that we're making, again, with legislation, is we're going to eliminate the absolute requirement for continuous 70-day winter flooding period. We realize this year is an example of a year where sort of act of God provision should have been there, because some growers could not maintain that length of flooding. So we're going to remove that as an absolute requirement. We're going to enable the Department of Fish and Wildlife to let the Rice Commission or our foundation contract with the growers and basically implement the program for the department. We think that's going to offer some efficiencies. And previously we had an end date of flooding that could go out to March 15th. We are going to bring that back to February 1st. And the reason for that is so people can participate in this program and then go right into our shorebird programs if they want to, and be able to essentially what we call stack two conservation programs back to back. Many may recall that we have just finished up our first big, what's called Regional Conservation Partnership Program grant within our CS. Our previous grant that just wrapped up was $7 million of grower payments. And of course, all those are matched with contributions from partners and such. So that was a total $14 million package that we ran for about the last 5 years. And we're happy to say that NRCS has given us another round of that. So we're just getting started. In fact, Rice Commission just signed the contract with NRCS yesterday. So you'll start to see some activities being advertised for this, and it's a total of 5.6 million in grower payments. And of course, all those are matched 1-to-1. So an $11 million project you'll see rolling out here for about the next 3 years in California rice. And now I'll talk about what we plan to do with that. We're going to continue our very successful shorebird programs. Yeah, again, that winter, spring, shallow flooding, early fall flooding. For those that have non-planted acres, summer habitat, which is very valuable, again, for that early shorebird migration in the summer. We have an objective of about getting 17,000 acres a year for the next 3 or 4 years into those practices funded by these federal dollars. The second part, we're really excited about this. We think we have a very innovative approach for nesting cover. What we would do is we would offer a payment for growers to establish the cover in the first place. This would be non-irrigated crop that would go in right after harvest. And if you were to do that, and again, there would be a payment. We're calling that phase 1, that is establishment of the initial cover. Come the next spring, if you, for whatever reason, decide you're not going to plant that field of, say, stress on water or whatever, you could choose to go into the phase 1 part of the payment, which is basically just what I call a conservation rental payment. We're going to ask you to stay out of those fields entirely until about July, so they can benefit the fullness of the nesting season. So we hope to get about 20,000 acres of the phase 1 cover in every year. And then of course, the amount that converts to phase 2 will be variable. It'll be based on all those grower decisions. We believe, obviously, in a water stressed year, we get more converting into phase 2, probably less in a good water year. We're certainly hopeful we'll get on average about 10% year over year of that phase 1 cover essentially converting into the highly valuable phase 2, where you've got the nesting benefits from springtime through about July. And then a third component is a brand new thing we're going to try. We're calling it a pilot project. So we're going to be advertising this very soon and looking for selecting about 10 projects. These would be about 5-acre plots or so on non-cropped areas of a farm where the grower would be interested in having that area completely restored to native pollinator cover habitat. So this would be perennial cover, highly valuable for pheasants and other nesting birds, as well as pollinators. So we'll hopefully get a lot of growers responding to that, and then we'll go out, meet with each of them and pick the best projects for the project, best sites for the overall project. Now I'd like to shift to really an emerging area for us, and that is we have been doing for the last 3 years or so intense investigations about our ability to raise salmon in winter flooded rice fields. A lot of data has been coming out about the quickness and the manner in which baby salmon grow very quickly in winter flooded rice fields. Our project is about seeing if we can get those fish into those rice fields and back out to the river, and how we need to modify fields in the wintertime to maximize salmon habitat. All this work has been done primarily by UC Davis, also with Caltrout. This shows we've been in what I'm now calling phase 1 investigations between 2018 and 2021. Here's our site out at River Garden Farms, half-acre plots literally turned into kind of a laboratory out there where we tested survivability of the salmon, as well as different types of field practices. We come to the conclusion that really the simple practice is all that's required. Don't need to put in any woody cover or any complicated things. It's really just pretty much a regular managed rice field with some modifications to water depth and structures in the boards that are going to be a good practice for salmon. So here's just a couple pictures of all the great science that's been going on out there. It's been very, very intense. A lot of market recapture of fish. We put telemetry tags in them and tracked them down the river to the ocean. We found that there was a significant increase in the percentage of rice field reared salmon that made it out to the ocean compared to just hatchery reared. So we're very excited about that. We think we have great potential to develop this into a practice, much like our water bird practices are today. So NRCS is so happy with this work that they have doubled down and offered us to do another 3 years of work. So this is going to be $1.1 million of work that will be done in the next 3 years. And it's essentially to take the practice standard that we are developing and implement it on full-scale farms for 2 seasons in the bypass. The reason we're focused on the bypass for now is the agencies really require a program that has volitional passage of salmon both on and off the fields. That is, they will come into the fields with the bypass flooding, and then they will find their way back to the river as the bypass drains. But we will enhance the rice fields to increase the productivity for salmon while they are there. Here you see a schematic of how the fields will conceptually be designed. One of the most important features is modified boards that allow for fish to pass through checks and ultimately out of the field at whatever time they want to. But the living will be good in there, so we expect them to stay for a long time and grow very quickly and have greater survivorship out to the Pacific Ocean. I really want to thank all of the sponsors that made this possible, the financial sponsors. Again, I want to point out registrants, very important, major contributions from Syngenta, Grow West, Corteva, Valent, all very, very supportive and interested in this project. We also see some rice mills here as well, ACC, California Family Foods, Lundberg Family Farms. I am, by the way, not completely done with my fundraising for phase 2. I have a gap to close. So if anyone has any suggestions of organizations that think might be interested in joining the funding coalition, I would be very interested in talking to them. My contact information will be at the end of this presentation. Also, for those of you that want to hear about all of our conservation programs and the opportunities to apply and enroll, you really need to be on our listserv. You can go to calrice.org and you'll see this screen, and you can just enter your email information and you will get all of our notices of applications. If you prefer a telephone, Jim Morris's number is there below, and he can just put you on the list if you call him or email him. And again, my information is down in the lower right corner of this slide. Happy to field any emails or calls subsequent to this presentation and talk conservation. So that's it for my presentation. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen here.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, we have a break now, so we've eaten into the break, but we still have 4 minutes left for before we restart. So we will take those. And Paul, you do have one question that maybe you want to answer on the chat. You can type it, that way nobody misses it.
Okay.
Not on the chat, on the Q&A.
Got it. So the question is about, of course, predation, which is an interesting one. We believe that our program will get these fish out to the ocean very early in March. That's the benefit of the rice fields, is that the fish grow very, very fast. And so they can get out into the river bigger and a lot earlier before the predator populations are really very significantly active. There's always fish that will be preyed upon by predatory fish on their way down, no doubt. However, last year we got 4 times as many fish out to the ocean as our control group. So you can just imagine, if you were to scale that up, how that could make a difference in the salmon population. That's my answer to that question. The question was, are you raising striped bass food? How can you get the fish out to the ocean? So we feel we got a program that will withstand predation and still be very successful.